What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy, single game $1 million winner, here with the last of our divisional round installment of our NFL DFS picks and lineup advice videos. This time, single game showdown between the Packers and the Seahawks, both FanDuel and DraftKings. If you're not already, definitely click that subscribe button below. That way you know exactly when all of our latest videos are released. All right, so let's jump into this. And we'll start with a low risk approach like we always like to take a look at for these showdown slates. Both FanDuel and DraftKings offer different strategy. However, this particular game, Seahawks and Packers, we actually can play a decent amount in low risk if you're willing to do one thing. So, if you look here, and you know what we like to do for low risk contests. Now, those are 50-50s, head-to-heads, double-ups, contests where you just double your entry fees. You can't win any more than that. We like to get in both quarterbacks, both running backs, in order to try to lock up all of the touchdown scoring on the slate if possible. So with Seattle and Green Bay, we can easily go Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Okay, right? Two of the easiest quarterback plays of the weekend in showdown format. Now, Aaron Jones going to get a majority of the touches here. He makes sense. Now, the one big decision comes between using MARSHAWN Lynch or Travis Homer for Seattle. If we look, Lynch was signed a couple of weeks ago, doubled his rushing attempts last week versus Philly in a game script where they led for most of the way. But if you've hashtag watched the tape or even if you look at the box scores, you can see that there's not the same MARSHAWN Lynch that we've grown used to over the years. Just incredibly inefficient. However, Pete Carroll said this week, as you'll see right here in the player news update below, that Lynch is ready for additional touches. He wants to see him do more now. So we'll see how much that means. Again, game script could impact this. Travis Homer, meanwhile, has looked way more explosive, gotten way more work in the passing game. As you'll see, 5 catches, 6 catches before last week's game with just 1 target where they were leading most of the way. However, double-digit carries in back-to-back games. So depends on your preference here. I personally prefer Travis Homer on a PPR site like DraftKings, but MARSHAWN Lynch will get the goal line carries, and if our goal is to lock up all the touchdowns on the slate, then we may want to go with Lynch here. So let's just say we go with Lynch. This is your personal preference here between Lynch and Homer. It leaves us $3,100 per player, and both defenses are pretty cheap, $3,600 and $3,200. So while we can't do it with Russ Wilson at captain, we can probably do it by swapping him out for a cheaper captain. Maybe Aaron Jones, maybe Aaron Rodgers. So looks pretty easy on DraftKings. Now, the thing you have to do here is fade DAVANTE Adams, which is definitely tough. However, if you look at yesterday, George Kittle in a similar spot with a high target positional player, 75% owned in double ups, only caught 3 or 4 passes. Again, it's the positional volatility of tight ends and receivers, and the 2 quarterback, 2 running back approach ran away handily. So you'll see here, DAVANTE Adams incredibly priced up for good reason, and has had some incredible games. But again, it's a volatile position. He could very easily catch 4 for 40 today and not be in the optimal lineup. So we still prefer playing the 2 quarterback, 2 running back approach. Now, it goes the same on FanDuel especially. Let's hop over here. And you want a quarterback, of course, in your MVP spot where there are no salary multipliers on FanDuel. So let's get these guys in here. We probably want Lynch here because of the half-point PPR scoring. Touchdowns way more important. That leaves us with $6,500. A couple guys you can go with. Jamal Williams, who's back today, has been getting a 60-40 split most of the time in that backfield with Green Bay. That locks up all of Green Bay's scoring for you. So I think that's a good move. And if you go down, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, we'll talk about him in the high-risk section. But yeah, and if you go Lynch or Homer instead of Lynch, you can fit in a guy like Allen Lazard instead, or Jimmy Graham. So definitely different ways to go. However, the takeaway here is that low risk looks pretty simple on this slate. All right, let's talk about high risk. And what we have to do, let's think about the Baltimore game yesterday, where a very popular MVP, Lamar Jackson, ended up being 70% owned as MVP in high-risk contests. And we said in order to differentiate, you're going to need cheaper players that can help you leave salary over. And we saw that. A guy like Khalif Raymond was minimum price and was in the optimal lineup. And when we're on FanDuel, if we're looking for high-risk contests and we can find guys in that 5 to 7K range that can score touchdowns and help us have high-volume quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson be the optimal MVP and help us differentiate by leaving $2,000 to $5,000 left over in salary, that's when we want to target high-risk contests on FanDuel. And in this slate, particularly, there are guys that can do that can catch touchdowns. So, a couple, for example, here. Malik Taylor is back. He's going to get 20 to 40% of the snaps more than likely. No recorded game log data. That's fantastic. Oh, it's Malik Taylor. That's my mistake. Where's Malik Turner? Maybe we'll just search for him. Here he is, 5,500. My mistake. He has caught a touchdown or two this season, so he's definitely a guy that can be in the optimal lineup. Jake Kumaro, 20-30% of the snaps. Geronimo Allison, even more of the snaps. Jamal Williams is back, especially if you do a fade Aaron Jones lineup where Jamal Williams gets most of the work. A guy we like the most, however, is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. 5K minimum price. This is the perfect punt play in high-risk contests. So you'll look at his game logs. You'll be like, guys, Occupy Fantasy, what are you talking about? He's got 4 points combined over the last 4 weeks. Hasn't scored more than 3 points over the last 7 weeks. So Valdes-Scantling had a bit of a roll bump in week 17. Played 25% of the snaps. Got 7 targets, though. But the big thing about Valdes-Scantling is he gets high-value targets when he does get targeted. Course of the season, 19 yards downfield, average depth of target. Last 3 weeks of the regular season, 19 yards. So all it takes is one bomb. We saw it with Khalif Raymond. Similar role, maybe a little more playing time for Valdes-Scantling than Raymond sees. But Valdes-Scantling, the perfect guy for a high-risk contest punt play to leave salary left over. All right, let's go back, top over back to DraftKings. Whoops. There we go. And so this game total opened at 47, and it's going to be freezing cold. 17 degrees, wind chill near 10 degrees. Fantasy scoring drops a bit when it gets that cold. When it's that far below freezing, fantasy scoring drops. Teams tend to run the ball more. So now with that total below that 47-point mark, running backs are where you want to go for your captains generally in this game script. So guys like Lynch or Homer, guys like Aaron Jones, maybe even guys like Jamal Williams, who's going to get 40% of the snaps in the case that he steals the touchdowns from Aaron Jones. But other guys we do like. Allen Lazard. And if we look at his last 3 weeks of the regular season, he had, let's pull him up here. We'll see his targets for one, 893, so 20 targets over the last 3 weeks. But during that time, he actually had an insane amount of air yards. I'm pulling it up now, but give me 1 second here. Let's get this data right for you guys. He actually had 294 air yards on those 20 targets. So way further targets downfield than DAVANTE Adams did. And only caught 11 of those 20. He's due for some positive regression. He's on our underperforming receivers list, as is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who we talked about already. And let's not forget Tyler Lockett, who was overshadowed by DK Metcalf last week. But Lockett is also underperforming. Last few weeks, leads the team in air yards by a wide margin, 300 and some air yards. And you look 8, 7, 7, 9 targets, very consistent. Receptions not very consistent. However, Lockett is one of our top underperforming receivers, and even in a lowish total game, he makes sense as a captain, especially on DraftKings. So to recap, got some cheaper guys we can use to leave salary over. Play running backs or receivers in your captain spot on DraftKings. You're able to get Russ Wilson, Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers as your 3 guys as your MVPs in high risk on FanDuel. And this looks like a really good slate overall, maybe the best allocation of the weekend for Showdown single game slates. All right, that'll do it for this video. Be sure to subscribe below if you're not already. That way you get notified when our latest videos come out. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. We appreciate it. The thumbs up really help us out, so thank you if you do that. If you have questions about this slate, need some advice, drop a comment below, and we'll answer you before the slate starts tonight at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. All right, for more information, OccupyFantasy.com. Daily plug and Occupy model is up and running for these 2 slates today on Sunday. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us always on Twitter at OccupyFantasy. Thanks for listening. Good luck, and we will talk to you soon.